Hi, kids. It's Sunday School with Pastor Mike. It's good to spend some time with you. You know, when I was a kid, there was a famous comedian, and his favorite line was, "Here comes the judge." And so today, I'm going to start by telling you about some judges that are in the Old Testament. In fact, there's a book in the Bible called Judges. You might look in the Old Testament and see if you can find it. And I'm going to tell you about, in the next few weeks, a couple of those judges. Now, the first judge that I'm going to tell you about is actually a woman, and her name is Deborah. So listen to the story. Once again, Israel sinned. You know, they did it quite often. They did not love and worship only God. God allowed Jabin, the king of Canaan, to rule over the people. The commander of Jabin's army was named Sisera. Jabin had many iron chariots, and he treated the Israelites very, very badly for 20 years. Can you imagine? That's awful. The Israelites called to God for help. They cried out, "Help us, God." At this time, Deborah was a prophetess and a judge in Israel. She would sit under a palm tree, and the Israelites would come to her for help. One day, Deborah sent for a man named Barak. Deborah asked Barak, "Didn't God tell you to take soldiers to Mount Tabor and defeat Sisera?" Barak told Deborah that he would go if she would also go. Deborah agreed, but she told him, "You will not receive the honor for the battle. A woman will defeat Sisera." Barak gathered 10,000 soldiers. Barak and Deborah traveled with the soldiers to Mount Tabor. Sisera heard the news that Barak had gone to Mount Tabor. He gathered all of his iron chariots and all of his soldiers. Deborah told Barak to take his men and to go fight Sisera. Suddenly, God caused Sisera, all of his chariots, and all of his soldiers to be confused. Sisera ran away from the battle. He traveled to a tent of a woman named Jael. Jael offered Sisera some milk to drink, and she hid him under a rug. When Sisera fell asleep, Jael killed him. Barak had been chasing Sisera and arrived at the tent to find that Sisera was dead. God had delivered the Israelites from Jabin and his army. Later, the Israelites completely defeated Jabin. Deborah and Barak sang a song of praise to God for all that he had done. "May those who love God be like the rising sun in its strength," they sang. There was peace in Israel for 40 years. You know, God used Deborah in an amazing way. And he also used Jael. You know, isn't it interesting that God brought confusion, upon Sisera and his army. Many times in battle, God caused the armies that were against Israel to enter into a time of confusion. God used people, and God used the judges to help Israel in different times. God also helps us, and all we have to do is turn to him. Well, that's our story about a judge. Now it's time for you to be a judge. It's time to learn our memory verse. And how you're going to be as a judge is I have 3 people that are going to say the memory verse out loud. And then you have to be the judge to tell who it is. Okay? Are you ready? Here comes the judge. Okay, and that's you. So here is reader number 1. Whose voice is this?
By my grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not your own doing. It is the gift of God, not as a result of works, so that no one may boast. Ephesians 2:8-9.
Ooh. Okay, judge. Whose voice was that? You got it? Okay. Here is voice number 2. Voice number 2. Here it is. You're the judge.
For by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not your own doing. It is a gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast. Ephesians 2:8-9.
Okay, judge. Did you guess who that voice was? Okay, here's voice number 3. You're the judge. Here it is.
For by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not your own doing. It is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one can boast. Ephesians 2:8-9. I stuttered.
So whose voice was that? Okay, so you're the judge. Who was number 1? Number 1's voice was a little disguised, wasn't it? It was my wife, Terry. Did you guess her right? Did you get it? And voice number 2, whose voice was that? If you guessed my daughter Elizabeth, you are absolutely correct. And voice number 3, okay, judge, who was it? If you guessed and said it was my daughter Joanna, you are right. So with that, you work on that memory verse. It's a great verse. And it's talking about our faith. And it is a gift from God. All right, we will see you next week. Thanks for joining me. I love you. Bye.